Hey guys, this is Titan and I welcome you to the 29th episode of my Cities Skylines series, Vedastein. Now, the topic for this episode is sort of actually finishing the city of Vaderstein itself. Because of course Vaderstein is a relatively small town and it doesn't need the whole map. And so with this episode we basically finish the town or the city or municipality, whatever you prefer, of Vedastein. Aside from a valley where also the brewery will be in the end, and of course some Soviet Plattenbau districts. But let's say maybe it's not that finished. In any case, the project for today starts where we left the town with the last episode, where we built a bridge and sort of transitioned into the countryside. And in this episode we'll continue this trend of transitioning into the countryside, and we sort of finish the development of this horseshoe bend here that the town is located at, and this is it a cliff or a hill, mountain side, whatever it is. In either case we'll finish it. And I had the idea of having a winery or vineyards here. And when it's about the inspiration for that, I wasn't sure how to start this area here or what to do with this area actually. The thing I knew is that I want to transition onto the countryside with the area here, but I wasn't quite sure, am I going to do fields, maybe even the first farm building in this area, or vineyards. And I looked for inspiration on the original Veda Valley, so to say, so the Elbe Valley. And then I watched a documentary actually about the Mosel Valley. Maybe you've heard of it. It's a very it's a region in Germany known for its many vineyards, and it's an amazingly looking river valley. And that was sort of the inspiration to, yes, that's what I'm going to do here. And you'll see later that doing the vineyards is, even though we have assets for them, is still a bit problematic, I might say. So I had to tweak them a bit so they don't look too repetitive and all that, but I think in the end we have something that looks good. And so I prepared all that the first I did was plopping more of my cube houses on the lower side of that vineyard here, because it sort of follows the trend we started in the last episode with that open development here, and I think they look pretty good in the in this area here. And I built that very beautiful vanilla building that you saw. I will delete it in just a few minutes because it sort of was another proof that vanilla buildings don't look that good in general. There are exceptions, of course, but that one is rather ugly. And so I deleted it afterwards. And to be honest, I don't have that much experience in creating vineyards in the game. And so in this episode there was again quite a bit of trial and error and looking how it would fit and how it doesn't fit. In the end I think they look pretty good, I guess. I hope. I let you decide how they turned out, but at least I'm satisfied with it. I might improve my methods here and make them more realistic with the next vineyards we're going to tackle in Vedastein. But I think they have a nice look. or they will have a nice look in the end, and I'm satisfied for the moment at least. But I'm constantly improving my workarounds, I guess. So when I say I'm satisfied now, you can count on me being not really satisfied anymore 10 episodes from now. So what's the thing with this building here? I got the inspiration for that from actually the Elbe Valley itself, then again, and because around Dresden, which is just I think 20 kilometers away from the real location of Vedastein, around Dresden we have some very renowned and fancy vineyards. And I sort of wanted to not copy, I wanted to emulate the feeling of those vineyards. Because, as I said earlier, in the Mosel Valley they also have vineyards, but over there it's just vineyards from the bottom of the valley to the top of the mountains. It's just vineyards everywhere, which looks great. Or wait, is it vineyards or vineyards? I'm gonna go with vineyards. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean. And so it's just vineyards from the bottom of the valley to the top, which looks great, but I thought there is some eye-catcher missing in that. And so I looked for inspiration around my area here, and what I came up with is just putting some big house on the top of that vineyard, and also not making the vineyard or vineyard or whatever the whole or not making the vineyards on the whole slope of the mountain, because I think it just looks more natural. It not that sort of industrialized vineyards, but more natural, and I think opposite of the old town, it gives a more picturesque look. So that's the thing we're going to do here. So the vineyards are not that big here, and then there is this big building sort of on top of these vineyards that I'm gonna change in just a few minutes, don't worry. As it is now, it looks rather, ugly, which actually was a big problem for me in that episode. You see, it comes out pretty late today because I actually just finished it. And having this building on the top of that vineyard sort of demotivated me. And it sort of, I didn't know what to do with that area while that building was there, so I really had to change it, which I'm gonna do in not sure, can't take much longer, I think. But the thing or the story with that building is that it's just, or that it used to be a mansion of some rich industrial owner. So again, I'm drawing inspiration from Dresden, because here we have three big, they are called palaces, but actually they are just big mansions. So we have these three big mansions on top of vineyards just next to the river, which looks amazing. And I wanted to do basically the same here. And the story behind these mansions is, the same as with that one here, is that during industrialization, some people got very rich, of course, and they wanted to have a mansion that shows how rich they became during their during this industrialization process, because they had some factories or whatever. And so this mansion here is the building of such an industry tycoon back in the days. So he built his mansion here right on the opposite side of the old town and on the opposite side of the castle, to also sort of show the emancipation, I guess, of these yeah, these industrial people, these otherwise normal people. They aren't noble people, they are just normal people that got rich, and they show, here we are. It's not only you, the king or whoever, who has money, but we too. So they showed their power as well. So that is the story behind that building. Then, during the time, or most likely in that area here, as Vedastein would have been in the communist East German part of Germany, the mansion got transferred to the state after the war, and after the communist country got formed here, and then the city got the mansion and still has the city, or the city still has the whole villa or the whole mansion here. And that is just because yeah, it's sort of the municipal winery of Vedastein. So this whole vineyard here and this whole winery is in possession of the city, and the city produces the wine, and the city holds banquets here, and there is a cafe inside, and maybe there are exhibitions from local artists or whatever. So you kind of imagine what I mean, I think. And yeah, that's sort of the story behind that, which again also is based on a real building, just or sort of in the vicinity of the real Vedastein region. So that's the whole story behind it, and I think it's quite the fitting story for that here. And you just saw I switched the building, and now of course it looks much better. I switched it for a part or parts of Mac Welshman's Osborne house. Here again I'm using a few props, turning the POs to make a nice staircase down to the vineyards here. And this building, this Osborne house, sort of has a bit of an Italian look, I think. And I thought that fits quite well with the wine setting we have here, that the building itself also looks kinda Tuscan, or at least to me it looks very Tuscan. So like the building could also be in the Tuscany region of Italy. And so yeah, I thought this would give a nice or this plays together pretty well, and so I think it fits. Please, of course, if you don't think it fits, write it in the comments, because I'm always open for criticism and ideas. And yeah, so that's the story behind that building. And so here again I had a bit of fun of making some, well, I didn't make a garden here, but some terraces with flowers and exotic plants, as you'll see all that in just a few minutes and seconds. So decorating this mansion again, and I think as I have done it, it definitely makes sense. So we just had this yard with a few flowers and bushes, and now we're having this this outside area of this restaurant here, because as I said, it belongs to the city, and meaning, or if it belongs to the city, it belongs to the public. And so of course everything here is accessible, and where we, for example, have this small, or it's not that small actually, we have this restaurant area here where you can imagine sitting there drinking a local wine that grew just beneath your feet, and sitting on the terrace and looking having the valley floor and the old town in front of you is a really nice ambience, I'd say. So yeah, I think that was a good idea to make it like that here. Of course, it could also have been a hotel or whatever, but I think having it city owned is better, given that it's so close, or actually opposite side of the old town. It gives a better feeling, I guess. What we're doing now is just making the entryway of that building. So back in the days, the owner of that building would have driven with his car right in front of the door. Nowadays, of course, it's not the case anymore. But I really had fun making this sort of grand mansion or villa entryway, and I really want to do something or some more of those in the future, because there's still much room left in Vedastein, and you can count on me that there will be more vineyards, also private owned and whatever then, because it's really fun making these vineyards once you get the hang of them, how to make them at least. So here, as I said earlier, I just wanted to have some exotic plants here again. The thing with those is the same as with the orangery in the Baroque garden episode. It's just back in the days when the mansion got built, it was, here I am, look, I actually have exotic plants, look how rich I am. That was the point back then. Nowadays, of course, it's sort of just tradition to have them there. The town or the municipality doesn't need to show how rich it is, of course. That would be a bit strange, I guess. So yeah, but all in all, I think this turned out pretty nice. I topped the hill and sort of also gives a nice viewpoint on the opposite side of the castle. So we don't have the castle, and that's basically it. But the castle also has some sort of rival, I guess, on the opposite side of the valley, which I thought is a quite interesting scenario to have. Now, the last thing I'm touching here, or I'm doing here with the vineyards themselves, is just putting some plants everywhere, because having just these vineyard props by Pidelmo here seemed a bit boring to me and a bit empty, and so what I did is just plopping some bushes in between there and there and there and there and there. I don't think, or I don't know if that's too realistic, but at least it looks better. Please tell me if the vineyards I did are realistic or not. I really want to know. Now, the last thing for this episode now, yes, it's a shorter episode today, which is good, because otherwise I wouldn't have managed, or I couldn't have managed to get it out in time. So the last thing is building and decorating these houses here. And you see from the first glance at them that they have a very different style from the cube houses. And the story behind that, again, I'm always having story and lore behind my cities. It's just so much fun inventing a story for a city. In any case, the story of these houses is basically that during the communist East times, these houses were built by the ruling party of the country for high officials of the state. So for, I don't know, generals, or for important people of the state. Even though, of course, it was a classless society, but I think we all know that this classless society wasn't that classless after all. So that's the story behind these buildings. Nowadays, of course, those are standard apartments. And so on the other side of the street here, sort of transitioning onto the lawn towards the river, there's just some parking spaces and the trash containers for the citizens or for the inhabitants of these houses, in a bit of a modern style, as you see, which I think fits pretty well. At least to me, it feels real, and it could be just like that in the real world. So what should I say? That's actually it for this episode, basically. It was a shorter episode, yes, but with these amazingly long episodes we had recently, I think it's okay if we also have a bit of a shorter episode for once. So in any case, I really thank you again for watching this episode. It has been fun, as always, even though my time was a bit limited for this episode. But I really hope you liked this episode, and if you have any ideas or you want to criticize something, feel free to write it in the comments. And of course, if you like the video, actually like the video, press the thumbs up button, it helps, of course. If you don't want to miss any videos in the future, feel free to subscribe, I would love that. And if you really want to support me further, you can support me on Patreon. And by that, of course, a huge thanks to all the people who support me on Patreon. I love you for that. And then again, you can also join my Discord server if you want to further get in touch with me or my community. That's it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode, and bye.